back in '71, they took me in for my DPT, and we think that's the main shot that I had at that time. And within hours, I began seizing. My fever was 104, which lasted a week. So, yeah, and what the doctors were thinking was they were worried about encephalitis, but looking back, we probably think that I did have encephalitis. And I was brought into the hospital, and they had to restrain me. There's different, I'm never sure if, I've heard straitjacket or restraints or different measures that they used in order to do that spinal tap, because they were checking for spinal meningitis. That was the initial thought, because of course at the beginning they don't want to connect it with the vaccines I just had hours ago. You know, it must be spinal meningitis.
So they look every other place.
Yeah,
other than
I know.
The obvious.
Right? Yes, but even eventually the pediatrician then would check for my neck, because he said, I think she might, you know, have that rare bad reaction, and it looks like I did. And I was really fortunate. After a week, I believe they even were bringing the priest in because the fever didn't break, and they were concerned. I was vomiting along with the seizing, and when you go a week that long with that high of a fever, I don't think that can be beneficial for the brain. It's got to be real detrimental. And so after a week, it was really kind of like another miracle, like just a few months before, where the fever, I was vomiting, seizing, hospitalized. They did the spinal tap, it was normal, but then suddenly the fever broke and the vomiting stopped, and it was just, I was really one of the lucky ones.
You're a miracle baby.
Yeah, that's what they said back then. In the 70s, we actually had some of the hippies who really didn't vaccinate back then. It was kind of that mentality where some didn't, and the few friends I had who weren't vaccinated were the healthiest of all. They didn't have colds, they weren't sick, they were eating their organic granola and healthy as can be. But yeah, I don't want my parents to feel guilty. They are still pro-vaccine, although I think they're opening their eyes to these things. I think that but I never want them to feel any kind of guilt or anything. But it's just they were doing what the pediatrician told them.